Hello, everybody. Okay, let's get started. We'll do mandala and the refuge, and then I have a few things I need to discuss before we start class. So please make the mudra for the mandala offering, if you know it. Here is the great earth, filled with the smell of incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, the four continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayame. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving them the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving them the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving them the rest, I will reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. Okay. I've offered to do the death meditation with any of you that are interested, and I've asked Svetlana to organize that. So if you can email her and let her know, she'll start a list. Now, usually I teach the death meditation in one weekend. We have one Friday class, 3 classes on Saturday, and 2 classes on Sunday. With the time difference for everybody, that may be a little problematic. So I need to know if you'd prefer to do it on 2 weekends in a row or one weekend. We'll probably need at least a Russian translator, because if there are enough Russian students, then whoever's translating can't really be taking the course at the same time, since we're doing a lot of meditation. So it's a guided meditation course. It's very uplifting. I really encourage you to take it as a start to your Buddhist practice. So please get a hold of Svetlana and let her know if you want to be a part of the list so we can announce it properly. Okay. So let's review. I'm going to review the karma and the 4 powers of purification in a little bit of detail now before we start the rest of the class. So we have the 4 laws of karma. These laws illustrate how important virtuous behavior is if you want any pleasantness in your future. As I've said before, we really, really, really need to think of the past is what's made our present. The present is what's making our future. You just really have to understand and believe that. So, karma is definite. Good deeds lead to good results. Bad deeds lead to unpleasant results. We tend to live our lives thinking a negative deed can bring a good result, like telling a lie or robbing a bank. But that's simply not true. A good deed leads to a good result. A bad deed leads to a bad result, unpleasant result, period. You really need to understand that. So instead of saying it's my karma, but, you absolutely need to catch yourself saying that and say it's my karma, so, period. When you say it's your karma, but, you're basically saying, well, karma's not working on this particular instance. And that's, well, if you're a Buddhist practitioner, that's simply not true. I catch myself, and I think I challenged you last class, when you go through the day, we tell lots of little lies, white lies you might call them, but they're still little lies. I'm trying to think of an example now. No, I can't think of one in my life right this minute, but when you're talking to anybody and you say something like, well, I can't think of one right now, but catch yourself, be accurate. Or if you're going to be vague, so for instance, if you say something like, I'll get to that right away, and you're not going to get to it right away, that's basically a lie. You didn't stop what you're doing and get to it. So if someone asks you to do something, you either say, I'll get to it right now, and you do it right now, or you say you'll get to it later in the day, and then get to it later in the day. This seems trivial, but there's nothing trivial about karma. Okay, so karma, 4 laws of karma. Law number 2, karma increases. As I said last class, I looked very hard in the scriptures, in the Abhidharma Kosha, which is a compendium of rules and things that all the schools follow. And I could not find where it doubles every 24 hours. It increases, but to say it doubles every 24 hours, the only place I found that was in a Vajrayogini teaching, a tantric teaching by Pabonka Rinpoche, who is a highly realized teacher. So I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying Lord Buddha didn't mean it. I'm just saying I tried to find the actual sutra that came out of. So the important point is not that it doubles every 24 hours. The important point is that it increases. So a little white lie gets into a big lie, into a bigger lie, and it will come back to you as somebody not being honest with you. So karma increases. Now, the third one, you can't take on someone else's karma. You can't. I can't take on someone else's karma. You can't take on my karma. So when we do Tonglen, when we're worried about the suffering, trying to take on the suffering of others, we can't take their cancer, let's say. You can't take my Parkinson's if you're doing any Tonglen on me, because it's my karma ripened to have Parkinson's, not yours. What you can do is take on the feeling of the suffering I may be having and try and help me understand and deal with that. But you can't take the karma on. The last one, karma is definite. Karma will ripen. A karmic deed done must ripen. You can damage the seed through the 4 powers of purification, which we'll talk about again just in a minute. But it will ripen. Now, one of the things that's can be confusing about karma is we tend to think it's a one-to-one deal. So if I irritate, what's a good example? Okay, Parkinson's is inconvenient to me. So I must have inconvenienced someone in the past. Did I give them Parkinson's? I can't give them Parkinson's. But what I can do is inconvenience them, make something be difficult for them to do out of a lack of attention by me. That's what Parkinson's is to me. It's just inconvenience. But what kind of inconvenience would that be? Well, that could be promising to do something and not doing it. That could be doing something poorly, so they have to do it. That could be ignoring something they wanted you to do, and now they have to do it, so it's inconvenient to them. So part of the fun for me in my practice of the Dharma is trying to figure out what consequence, what deed is ripening as that particular consequence at the moment. So I have a piece of software I use to write my books called voice recognition. It tries to take my voice and print the words for me since I can't type anymore. Now that's been working on and off lately, and I don't understand why. So I can either get very frustrated by it, which would perpetuate my being frustrated in the future, or I can just calmly reset the program, make note of what other programs I have open, and then contact the company and see if they can tell me why it's not working. So my first response, ignorantly, would be to say, that stupid program's not working. The company did a bad job writing it. That's ignorant. My karma is ripening, so it's inconvenient. So what did I do in the past to make this inconvenience ripen now? And what can I do in the present to stop it from happening in the future? Now, a very important point. Just because I don't get frustrated now doesn't mean I won't have frustration in the future, because I have life after life after life of doing things ignorantly before I met the Dharma. So part of the discouraging thing with karma is that you purify. So I'm not getting frustrated by Parkinson, yet it's not, I haven't been cured of it yet. So I still have lots of karma ripening because of inconveniencing other people. But it could run out. It will run out at some point. I won't have Parkinson's anymore. So the four laws of karma. Now we go to the powers of purification. Now I said that karma ripened, a movement of the mind done must ripen. So how do the four powers of purification work? I can't purify a karma to have it not ripen, but I can use the four powers of purification to lessen the power of the ripening. So the four powers of purification, you start with the basics. You take refuge in the fact. So these are the 4 R's: refuge, regret, restraint, and remedy. So you start with refuge in bodhicitta. You say to yourself, I know what I just did was a dumb thing to do because I understand karma and emptiness, and I know I'm setting in the future for that to ripen in an unpleasant way. So I regret that I did it. I know that it's going to ripen in the future. The remedy, the restraint, I won't do that particular thing for a certain amount of time. And then the remedy is a number of things: painting tankas, studying emptiness, doing your practice even more diligently. You do all 4 of those, and that will lessen, that damages the seed, to use the analogy of seeds. If you damage a seed, it usually can't ripen completely or healthily. But it's important to understand, as my understanding, you can't damage it completely. Now, what causes a seed to ripen? I'm still working on that. If I could understand what it takes to ripen the seed, I'd work very hard not to ripen the ones I don't like. But I'm working on that. When I figure that out, I'll get back to you. Okay. Let's see, what else do I want to say? Oh, dedication. Sum it all up. What we need to do is be sure after we do something virtuous that we dedicate it. Because if we dedicate it, it protects it from being destroyed by other acts in our life. So you need to have a dedication. And the one we use at the end of class is a perfectly good one. So I would recommend memorizing the one we use at the end of class and using that to dedicate the deed. So you do something good. You open the door for someone, you pick up some garbage in a parking lot. Then you just quickly say, by the goodness of what I've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. A simple dedication would be, I dedicate the virtue of this deed to my total enlightenment. That'd be a very simple one you could use. You don't have to say it out loud, you can just think it. But really focus your attention on starting to do that. There's lots of stuff I ask you to do, so you just have to put it in perspective. Okay. Let's see. Dedicating virtue to perfect enlightenment is generally understood to mean praying that a particular virtuous ask should contribute to your attainment of perfect enlightenment. Okay, today's class, bodhicitta and its benefits. Wow, bodhicitta and its benefits. Assuming we've achieved just a little renunciation, now what? How do we achieve freedom? What is it anyway? What's freedom for one person may not be freedom for another. So bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the wish to achieve enlightenment. Now, it's a little confusing in the student notes and in conversation with others down the road when you talk about bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, the wish to achieve enlightenment. Okay, that's a definition. But you'll often hear bodhicitta, the wish to achieve total enlightenment. Bodhicitta is defined as the wish to achieve enlightenment. Now, you can do that as a Hinayana practitioner, and you want to reach enlightenment for yourself, or you can do it as a Mahayana practitioner, which is what we're teaching in the ACI courses. And that's where you want to reach enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings or all living beings. At one point, Geshe got upset with himself and others for using the term sentient beings. He likes to use the word living beings instead. I'll try to remember that. So again, bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the mind of a Buddha. It doesn't mean if I have bodhicitta that I've got the mind of a Buddha. It means I have the potential to have a mind of a Buddha. That's what I'm striving for. I'm striving to become enlightened so I can help all living beings. So I talked about bodhicitta. There's bodhicitta as the wish, and there's bodhicitta in the form of action. Bodhicitta in the form of a wish is, I would like to save all sentient beings from their suffering, which is fine. That's a very nice thing to think, and you can act in your life along those lines. But if you do bodhicitta in the form of action, you take what are called the bodhisattva vows, and those are very specific. Let's see, how many are there? 64 specific activities that you do in order to govern your life and how you act in order to generate the karma to reach your total enlightenment. Course, which the course is at. Course 7, and then I think 10 and 11 and 12 go over that. And I can give the Bodhisattva vows after that, course 7. But for now, Hinayana Bodhicitta is to reach what their definition of enlightenment is nirvana, the cessation of all mental afflictions. The Mahayana Bodhicitta, total enlightenment, is not nirvana. It's all the way to total enlightenment. You want to reach total enlightenment for the benefit of all. You want to reach enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. When the first moment of bodhicitta arises in the mind, then you're what is called a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is someone who not only feels bodhicitta, the wish to reach enlightenment, be free of suffering, but works toward making it happen for all others. Bodhicitta is not just compassion for someone who's sick or homeless, it's compassion for anyone in samsara, because if we're in samsara, we are all suffering. It's important to remember that. We talked about that last class. Samsara is a cycle of suffering lives. Now, except for my Parkinson's, I'm a pretty happy camper. I'm married to a lovely wife. I live in a very nice house. I have all the computer needs I want. I'm pretty happy. But I'm still suffering. I still have Parkinson's. I still see the war in Ukraine. I still see the poverty in my country. I see the suffering from all the hurricanes and fires, bad weather in Europe, the hot weather in Europe. So I can be reasonably happy, but that doesn't mean I'm living in a world that's not suffering. So bodhisattva is someone who not only feels bodhicitta, but works toward making it happen. That would lead to have compassion for the rich and famous and everyone that's happy, because they're not likely to not have the feeling that the world's suffering. They will die, they'll lose it all. You feel the same towards everyone. This is an example Geshe Michael uses. It's when he was on a plane trip to receive a medal from President Nixon as a National Merit Scholar. They were in an airplane. They were getting ready to land in Chicago. This is his first trip on an airplane. They're getting ready to land in Chicago, and they find out that the landing gear won't go down. Well, excuse me. They find that the pilot says the landing gear hasn't fully opened. They don't know that it's true or not because they can't see it, but the light indicates it hasn't fully opened. So all of a sudden, everybody in that plane's in the same boat, well, the same plane, and they all start looking at each other and talking about what might happen if they die. So they're all on the same page. They all want to not have suffering. They're all feeling about all the same that way. They're worried about each other. They're not complaining about whether the food was any good or whether they had enough to drink or whether the seat was comfortable. They're thinking about their life and what it meant to them. So they're all pretty much in the same boat, having the same renunciation, the same feeling of renunciation. Then they landed, and it turned out the landing gear were fine, and everybody got back to complaining about now they were going to be late for an appointment because the plane had to circle Chicago to consume the fuel, so it didn't land. When you take off in an aircraft now, they've got fuel to get to the destination. That often means they're too heavy to land safely. So if you're in a plane that has to come back, return to the airport, often they have to burn the fuel off by circling. They can't dump it out in the atmosphere anymore because that's a violation of environmental protocols. So renunciation and bodhicitta are the same feeling. Renunciation is a feeling focused towards yourself, and bodhicitta is a feeling focused towards enlightenment for everybody else. So when have we found renunciation? When you meditated thus and feel not even a moment's desire for the good things of cyclic life, and when you begin to think both night and day of achieving freedom, you found renunciation. Renunciation, though, can never bring the total bliss of matchless Buddhahood unless it is bound by the purest wish. And so the wise seek the high wish for enlightenment. So that's what we're doing now. We're seeking the high wish for enlightenment. Geshe Michael talks about what he calls sugarcane bodhicitta and true bodhicitta. Sugarcane bodhicitta is sweet but hollow, like a piece of sugarcane. It's the first type of bodhicitta, but true bodhicitta is a deep, visceral, and strong experience. You can be a bodhisattva before you understand the concept of emptiness intellectually or perceive it directly. Can you achieve nirvana? Can you become an arhat, the cessation of all mental afflictions, by direct analysis before you become a bodhisattva? Yes. I was confused about this for a long time because I understood bodhicitta to be the wish to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So how could a Hinayana practitioner do that? Because they're not worried about everybody else. They're concerned about themselves. Well, that's where the term total enlightenment versus enlightenment came into my vocabulary. Bodhicitta is the wish to achieve enlightenment. There are two flavors of enlightenment. Seems strange, but there are. There's Hinayana enlightenment, which is the achievement of nirvana, which is the cessation of all mental afflictions. Or there's Mahayana bodhicitta, which is the wish to achieve total enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And to have that, you have to have bodhicitta in regards to everybody, not in regard the action bodhicitta, not the wish bodhicitta. So we're going to go through the benefits of cultivating bodhicitta and becoming a bodhisattva. There are 9 benefits, but for the homework, you just have to have 6 for the homework and quiz. This is not because they're not all important. It's just because Geshe Michael was being nice. Next class, we'll study how to actually get bodhicitta, the physical sensation and the inner knowing. We'll use Macha Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life for that. Okay, here are the benefits. Now, wait a minute. I had something here. Okay, I need to share the screen. I wanted to go over that, the difference between Hinayana and Mahayana a little bit differently. So I'm going to share the screen, I hope, now. There. Does everybody see a screen that says renunciation? Okay. And I'll give you this slide after class. Okay. Renunciation. You can renounce for yourself, or you can, and that generates Hinayana bodhicitta. And Hinayana bodhicitta can be in the wish. So I wish to free all sentient beings from their suffering, but I don't have the skills or the desire to do it, actually do it. Or you can have the action form where you take the vows, bodhisattva vows, and you practice hard. You lead your life in a way to achieve bodhicitta, become a bodhisattva. So in the action form, you become a bodhisattva. In a Hinayana practitioner, that means you study the 4 Arya truths, which we'll get to, in the wheel of life. Listeners and self-made Buddhas are Hinayana practitioners. Their enlightenment is nirvana. Now that's a great thing. Nirvana is must be a wonderful place to be. But for Mahayana practitioner, it's on the path. It's not the goal. It's part of reaching total alignment. Then you could have renunciation and you're focusing in on others. That's a Mahayana bodhicitta. Mahayana bodhicitta comes in the form of the wish again. As a Mahayana practitioner, beginning Mahayana practitioner, you can take it in the form of the wish, which is great. Then you can also take it in the form of action, the 6 perfections and the 64 vows of bodhisattva. That takes you to nirvana. Then from nirvana, you continue your practice and you reach total enlightenment. So renunciation for others leads you to Mahayana bodhicitta, and that leads you eventually to total enlightenment. If you do it for yourself, that leads you to Hinayana bodhicitta, which is good. You get to nirvana, but as the scriptures say, you can do better. You can do this for to benefit all sentient beings, all living beings. So I'll send a copy of this slide to Ale so she can send it to all of you at the end of class. Okay, now that should be not, you're sharing my calendar. Okay, there we go. Okay. So the benefits of bodhicitta. Number 1, your good deeds become the cause of omniscience, or put another way, to reach total enlightenment. The wish to help everyone plants seeds in your mind for your good deeds to be of help for everyone, all day, every day. And to do that successfully, you need to be omniscient, knowing just what each person needs. Without bodhicitta in your heart, a good deed will bring a pleasant result for yourself, but it will not go past that. Number 2, this benefit let me see now. Number 2, you are worthy of being bowed down to by humans and gods. This one strikes me as a little strange, but so as a bodhisattva, you're worthy of being bowed down to by humans and gods. That means you become a being of such great virtue that others can benefit from it by honoring you, and they see that this is true. Number 3, when you become a bodhisattva, you outshine even a self-made Buddha. So what's a self-made Buddha? They're a level of practitioner who can be very learned in this life, able to teach well, and seem to reach nirvana without a teacher. But they had an excellent teacher or teachers in the past. And so if they reach their enlightenment in this lifetime, it's not because they did it themselves, self-made. It's because they had excellent teachers in the past. So when you have Mahayana bodhicitta, you outshine listeners and solitary realize the Hinayana path because you have bodhicitta in your heart, a very potent wish, because you're working to combine the wish to help all beings in a more worldly way. Number 4, the tiniest good deeds you do with bodhicitta in your heart becomes Mahayana Dharma. Feeding a bird is even a cause for your future Buddhahood. Bad seeds are somewhat less detrimental, but only once you are a true bodhisattva. Once you have the true experience of bodhicitta, that your purpose is to serve others, even if you get angry, you don't lose it. It stays within you, even though it's not your primary focus. So by having bodhicitta in your heart, by having the bodhisattva vows, you become more able to control your tendency to do bad deeds, and it becomes more powerful. It helps you stop this more powerfully. Number 5, the tiniest deed or activity is the activity of bodhisattva. That's pretty much the same as number 4. Number 6, if you have bodhicitta in your heart, and in our sense, we're talking about Mahayana bodhicitta, the desire to help all sentient beings end their suffering. The Buddhas will consider you their son or daughter. When they talk in the scriptures about son or daughter of noble family, they're referring to people that are bodhisattvas. Number 7, all bodhisattvas are consider you as their brother or sister. Once you have bodhicitta in your heart, you become the family. Number 8, once you have bodhicitta in your heart, you've entered the greater way. Before this, we may have been aspiring to do it, but now we're in the greater way. You have the wish to help all sentient beings. You're now truly in the Mahayana greater vehicle track in your Buddhist training. If you have bodhicitta in your heart, true bodhicitta in your heart, it's possible to become enlightened in a single lifetime. That's what Tantra is all about. But for Tantra to work, you have to have bodhicitta in your heart, period. You have to have Mahayana bodhicitta in your heart. You want to reach enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. You'll do whatever it takes. But you have to have bodhicitta in your heart. You have to have bodhicitta for Tantra to work. That's why in some ways it's self-secret. If you don't have bodhicitta in your heart and you open a tantric text and you start reading it, it's not going to be of any value to you. You have to have bodhicitta in your heart. You have to be practicing as a bodhisattva. If you don't know that, then you open a tantric book and you study it and nothing happens and you think, well, this tantric stuff's all a bunch of hooey. No, it's self-secret in that if you don't know that you have to have bodhicitta in your heart, Tantra's not going to work. So how does this work during the day? There's the 9 benefits of bodhicitta. Just imagine it first and set out to hold in your mind throughout the day. So for instance, when I was still working, I'm driving to work so I can do something to make my coworkers or boss look good. And then may it help me reach my total enlightenment someday so that when I give them something, it can be ultimately beneficial. So the bottom line is, why do we want to have bodhicitta in our heart? Because of those 8 things that are benefits for being a bodhisattva? Sure. I mean, that's one way to look at it. That's a galupa list. But the reason you want bodhicitta in your heart is because if you want to become totally enlightened, be able to help all sentient beings, be omniscient and everything that comes with total enlightenment, you have to start somewhere. Renunciation's the beginning. First, you have to renounce yourself for yourself. And that doesn't mean quit your job and go live at Diamond Mountain. That means look at your life, see the kind of things you're doing that are distracting you from your Dharma practice, and work to rectify those things. For those that have siblings, not siblings, children, married husbands, things like that, you have a unique, something I don't have. You have in front of you something I don't have and never will have. You have powerful karmic objects to do good deeds towards. Your children are powerful karmic objects. Your husband or wife are powerful karmic objects. So by putting your Buddhist practice into practice with your kids, not getting mad at them, or if you get mad at them, do it in a way that is teaching them something, not just making you feel better. Those are incredibly powerful. Now, I don't have kids, but I was responsible for up to 160 people at a time when I came to Diamond Mountain. So I made sure I acted very positively toward all of them because they were powerful karmic objects, because they were studying with Geshe Michael and Lama Christie, and they were trying to reach enlightenment in this very lifetime. Those are all powerful karmic objects. You really don't know what's a powerful karmic object. So because of that, you need to treat all people equally with equanimity. You need to treat them as you treat your mother. Gotta remember that. Everybody you see in your life, you need to treat equally and properly. It's hard to do. So you mad at someone. Well, this morning I got an email about owing somebody a renewal for a subscription for $400. I don't have subscriptions for $400. It was a phishing email phishing scheme. They're trying to get me to call a 900 number and give away my personal information. So I did something in the past that was not fair to other people, and that came to ripen as this phishing. So I can be mad at that person doing that, or I can think it's my karma ripening because of actions in the past, so I need to not do it. And I need to make sure my wife knows that this happened so she doesn't click on it. But that's the wisdom. Instead of getting mad, it's saying, okay, you didn't fool me, and I hope you'll learn better and stop doing this. So think of all your actions as helping other beings in some way. Dedicate all your actions, your deeds. When I make dinner for my wife every night, I try and make it something interesting to eat. Try and make it tasty. And I do so that in my future, I will have people able to make food for me that's nutritious and pleasant to eat. Instead of just making dinner, I do it with that in my thought, my mind, and that's what's going to create my future paradise. So let's see, what else do I have here for class? That's it. I don't mean to belittle the benefits of having bodhicitta. but it all centers on the fact that it really makes everything you do that much more powerful, as a direct cause for your future enlightenment. Okay. That's what I've got for class today. So, having spoken about dedication, let's dedicate today's class. Then we can take some questions if you have them. By the goodness of what I've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. These classes are short sometimes. There'll be times when I have a 2-hour class, and you'll relish the fact that we used to have short classes. But for now, they're pretty short, at least the way I teach it. Okay, now what's your homework? I think you have I hope you've all been trying to memorize the 3 principal paths. That is such a companion for me during the day. I just really enjoy being able to bring that, or the source of all my good, up. Okay, so again, if you're interested in the death meditation, contact Svetlana, or if you have my email and you don't have hers, contact me. We'll put you on the list. And if when you contact her, if you indicate whether you prefer it to be 2 weekends in a row, which would probably mean just classes on Saturday and Sunday and not Friday night. The classes would probably end up being on Saturday. Let's see, 10 o'clock my time's what, about 9 hours ahead for Europe, 9 hours ahead for Moscow, right? So Europe's 7 hours ahead. And then we have Mexico. And Mexico, Guadalajara's 1 hour ahead. So if I get up at midnight to teach a class at 7 in the morning in Europe, my Guadalajara students have to get up at 1. Sorry. But we'll work something out. I don't mind getting up. I'm not even getting up at 12. I haven't gone to bed yet. So we'll work something out. Okay. Thank you all for the opportunity to teach. The classes will get more difficult, more timely. But for now, enjoy the fact that they're short. Okay. Oh, and I will send to LA the slide, and she can get that to everybody. So we'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.